hypothetical, but I think it's instructive because even if we can't properly calculate the concrete line, that forces such an ending, it's quite possible something like that occurs. And to really visualize what Magnus is trying to create, whether he can get it or not.
Yeah, you can't just force a win against Jan Nepomniachtchi.
Right.
He's against Jan Nepomniachtchi.
Right.
He's putting up stubborn defense. He's playing extremely well in this game. But the point is that in those positions, you can play on more or less forever, and Black needs to show tremendous accuracy to survive. And I don't think it's clear that Black can force the queens off, and there are many possibilities for White to keep the queens on the board. And as Fabi keeps trying to make work, rook to e5. And if you ever capture on e5, then the new pawn structure is something that really needs to be evaluated, because assessing it isn't easy for either side. It could be a good transition for White. It could also give Black some play to make his life easier. But that's, I think, where we're headed.
I saw Magnus's idea and why Jan played h4.
Okay.
If we go back one move before. If we go back one move before Jan played h4, because we were wondering what happens after queen d6 threatening rook e6. The difference is queen to g5 here, queen to f6 back, now queen to g3, queen to d6. Black keeps teasing this exchange. Now rook.
Just pointing out why you have to go queen d6 and not h4.
Yeah, queen to d6. Now if rook to e5, with the pawn on h2, we were mentioning rook to e6, and White can't take that pawn because the rook comes to e1, forcing the bishop to f1, where it's very passive. But now rook e6, rook takes h5, rook e1, king h2, very comfortably meets rook e1, and White's queenside cannot be attacked by the rook. The rook actually covers all, like rook to b1, b3 at some point, like first Black trades,
right,
and then rook to b1 is met by b3. So this is his point. He created that Luft, sort of with a slight gain of tempo. That's why Jan played h4.
That's a huge variation there. For those who may be just tuning in, we had this exact type of line before, but with the pawn on h2, the bishop f1 was not only not good for White after the queen's trade, because you really don't even have an extra pawn there because it's doubled, but perhaps tactically a serious problem for White on the first rank with things like c5 and bishop b5 coming. So that's why we have Fabiano here, sitting here trying to figure out what was Magnus's idea. We solved it. The threat of queen g5 induces h4 from Jan, so that now in those types of variations, the White queen no longer has this valuable g3 square. But, okay, here we go. Here we go. c4 is on the board.
I think c4 makes a lot of sense. We've been highlighting many of the reasons why. It's trying to make the bishop on d3 even better than where it currently sits. And also now the pawn's on h4.
Yeah.
Many of these variations, the pawn, while it's good in some of the endgames, it also has gone very far. So with the queens on the board in particular, to protect it with move g5 could be very risky. But I do like the way Jan is playing. I think he's holding on very nicely. And Magnus is trying everything he can. But there's some problems with the move c4 as well. If you get stuck with an isolated pawn, that won't be good news in some endgames.
All right, well, c4 played on the board, a critical moment. We expect Jan, as fast as he is, to at least take a few seconds to think about it. So on that note, we're going to take a very, very quick break. Promise it will be short, and we will be right back with chess.com.